Hello and welcome to Discover Parrots. I'm back to the Gambia in West Africa, this time in search of the Senegal parrots in the same places where I filmed for my last video about the rose-ringed parakeets. It's a good area, and soon enough I find my first specimen, a Senegal parrot perched on top of an Australian pine tree. Not a real pine, but an introduced species from Australia which attracts other parrots, as I've seen in the Canary Islands, monk parakeets and Nandi conures eating its fruit. This is the only Senegal parrot I found today, but there must be others. Actually, members of the Gambia and Senegal Birdwatching group on Facebook sent me pictures of a color mutation of the Senegal parrot photographed in this very area. Look at these two birds trying to find a nesting place in a palm. Thanks to Gerrit and Mark for allowing me to use their pictures in this video. I'd like to go back and see this individual. The following day I go to Bigilio Forest Park, a densely forested savanna where I found the rose-ringed parakeets for my last video. But finding a Senegal parrot in this forest is like finding a needle in the haystack. However, I get lucky when I get out of the forest. On my way back to the hotel, I hear the familiar screams of the Senegal parrot coming from the tall trees by the side of the road. It's up in a gum tree, another introduced species from Australia. It's interesting that I found my first Senegal parrots in two exotic species, not Gambian. It's pretty hard to film the bird in the dense foliage. I need to find a place where I can film Senegal parrots in better viewing conditions. For this, I asked Musa Manneh to help me. He is an official birdwatching guide with the Gambia Association of Birdwatchers. He takes me to a farm near Brufut Wood with a variety of trees and palms where lots of Senegal parrots have their home. It's in the morning and we see the first parrots flying into the giant KAPOK or silk cotton tree in the middle of the field. I have to move position and find the best place to film them, and here they are. I can see a few parrots right away flying into the great silk cotton tree, one of the tallest trees in Africa. It's the dry season, so the tree has almost no leaves. The same with the baobab and other trees, so it should be pretty easy to find the parrots, right? Well, not so easy because they move a lot. They are more active in the morning and move a lot between the silk cotton tree and the oil palms. The palms have plenty of fruits which haven't been collected by people. The locals prefer to use the sap to make palm wine. This is good for the parrots because there's plenty of food available for them in this area. And it's good for me because I get to film them. I knew that the African grey parrots prefer the fruit of the oil palm, but as you can see, the Senegal parrots also like them. Some parrots fly towards a baobab, so I turn my camera towards this big tree. On top of it there's a vulture and some green birds, so I immediately assume it's parrots. But they're not, they're just the African green pigeon, the western subspecies nudirostris. Very beautiful birds, but not what I'm looking for, so I have to keep searching. They are indeed in the baobab, but on a different branch. They move a lot actually between branches. Baobab fruit contains calcium and is good for parrots, especially for African greys, if you can find it. Senegal parrots also feed on the seeds of the baobab. Senegal parrots can be a bit cheeky with other birds. This male red-eyed dove starts to court the female. But the Senegal parrot has other ideas. I thought that parrots would spend a lot of time in the morning feeding, but actually they seem to have a lot of spare time for playing. There's a sycamore fig next to the baobab tree. It has plenty of fruits in all sorts of stages, from unripe to overripe. The overripe fruit keep falling one by one with a plopping sound. But there's still some green ones which should be good for parrots. The tree has a mix of green and orange color which allowed the Senegal parrots to blend in. Quite a good camouflage. An African pied hornbill is also attracted by the figs and helps himself. There's plenty for every bird. Senegal parrots are quite social birds. You can always see them feeding in groups for up to 20 individuals where food is abundant. But when they fly in pairs, probably each faithful to its partner. Sometimes a cheeky bird tries to steal the fruit from the other. It was nice to see that they have lots of interactions with each other without much aggression. When you film parrots on palm fronds, you have to look out for wind. It can swiftly move your parrot out of the frame. This parrot is up to mischief. First it bites the tail of another parrot looking for fruit in the palm. Then it moves towards the doves. It looks like doves are a bit scared of parrots, maybe due to their cheeky nature. But they will all fly away and leave room for the largest bird around, the hooded vulture. When the vulture lands on the frond, they all go. It's not a danger to parrots. However, this parrot stops from feeding and looks warily at the vulture. Should I stay or should I go? Better go. I must say that I filmed in this location for 2 days, so I have lots of footage like this where parrots interact with each other and I could observe their social nature. I saw them feeding and I saw them resting and then I saw them preening or actually preening each other. It's interesting to see that when one is preening, the other follows suit. It's also good to see them flying around. They're actually not great flyers, they don't fly a lot, and even in the Poicephalus group they are not the best flyers. They don't even compare with the rosing parakeets. But it's good to see groups of them. It was such a pleasure to see 9 Senegal parrots perching in the same branches of the tree, side by side. It's all calm and peaceful. Even when a parrot comes close to a pair, there is no fight. So it seems to me that in the wild, Senegal parrots are quite peaceful. Probably because there is so much space to go, and there's so much food to eat available for all of them. But you see, when they leave in pairs, so they stay together as a couple. Another thing I've read about parrots in my books is they need to gnaw or to chew branches and wood. And here it is, this individual chewing on branches without any apparent purpose. They are not food, but still he needs to exercise his beak. The silk cotton tree branches, especially the younger ones, are quite spiny, but I noticed regions on the branches where parrots sit and they are denuded. They are cleared of spines, probably by the parrots. I've actually seen one of them picking up one by one the spines and throwing them away. This is my favorite sequence, where 2 parrots come close together and then preen each other. They're probably a couple. By preening each other, which is called allopreening, they reinforce the bonds within the pair. Senegal parrots mate for life. As long as they're happy and healthy, nothing will separate them. Interestingly, when the third bird comes nearby, they don't attack it. Maybe it's a relative and they know each other. I think that parrots in the wild know each other as we know each other individually. There's something interesting happening in that tall baobab tree on the right. It looks like a Senegal couple searching for a nest place. I must investigate, and so does the African-pied hornbill. Looking closer, I see the bird at an entrance to a hole. It actually goes inside with a full body. Soon another one arrives. In the wild, Senegal parrots typically nest in holes in baobabs and locust trees at heights over 10 meters or 30 feet. This hole is quite high up in the baobab, so I guess it's a typical nesting site for a Senegal parrot. When the female gets out of the nest, she also takes out some material, some wood shavings from the nest. She's all wet because the baobab tree, even in the dry season, has lots of sap inside the trunk. You can see her shaking, and she still releases some of the material from the nest.
Another one coming.
Remember the rosing parakeets from my previous video? If you take a look at the footage, you will notice the female throwing out of the nest some dust and debris from the cavity she's digging in the tree. When she comes out and shakes her feathers, you can see dust coming out. By contrast, when the Senegal parrot comes out of her nest hole in the baobab, she's all wet. The birds take turns in working on the cavity. Notice how this one is digging and throwing out material from the nest to make the cavity larger. If you look in slow motion, you can see it better. There's lots of material she's digging out. It's the beginning of February, and according to literature they should have eggs by April or May. I wish I could go there and check. By looking at these two, you can easily tell which one is coming straight from the nest. It's looking like a good parent, tired and dirty. It was lovely watching Senegal parrots in the wild and bringing this kind of footage back to you. But I have to stop somewhere. Please consider subscribing to Discover Parrots, and in my next video, join me in my search for the most elusive and rare parrot of the Gambia, the brown neck parrot. See you on my next video. Goodbye.